Welcome to another quiet journey through time where the weight of the modern world fades, and you can let your mind drift into the sands of history. Tonight, we're traveling to ancient Egypt, a land where death was not an end, but a sacred beginning. Imagine yourself lying back, the room dim, your breath slowing as we step into a world of linen wrappings, incense, and whispered chants. This is boring history for sleep, and for the next 2 hours, we'll explore the intricate, reverent rituals of death and the afterlife in ancient Egypt. Let the details wash over you. Steady and unhurried like the Nile itself, there's no rush, no need to focus to heart. Just let the story carry you as we begin with the moment of your own passing and the extraordinary 70-day process that follows to make you eternal. We'll move through for parts tonight. First, you'll experience what it was really like to be mummified, from the moment your soul leaves your body to the final wrapping of linen. Then, we'll follow a grieving daughter and a priest as they prepare a loved one for burial. After that, we'll drift into the dreamlike trials of the afterlife, where your soul faces gods and scales. Finally, we'll step into the golden tombs of the pharaohs, where workers carved eternity into stone. Each part is woven together, a tapestry of ritual and meaning, designed to soothe and inform as you relax. So, settle in, close your eyes if you like, let the rhythm of ancient life guide you into rest. You are dead. The world around you has grown quiet, the hum of life replaced by a stillness that feels both heavy and vast. Your body lies on a stone slab, cool against your skin, though you no longer feel the chill. The air is thick with the scent of resin, sharp and woody, mingling with the faint, earthy tang of natron, a salt harvested from the dry lake beds of Wadi Natron. Somewhere nearby, a low chant begins, the voices of priests rising and falling in a rhythm as old as the Nile itself. You are in the Pernifa, the house of beauty, the sacred embalming chamber where your journey to eternity begins. For the next 70 days, your body will be transformed, step by careful step, into something that defies decay, something meant to last forever. This is what it was really like to be mummified in ancient Egypt. The process begins with purification. Your body, still warm from life, is carried into a shaded tent near the Nile's banks. The tent's linen walls flutter slightly in the hot breeze, letting slivers of sunlight dance across the floor. Priests, their heads shaved and their bodies cleansed with water from the river, move with practiced precision. They wear white linen kilts, their hands steady as they pour water over you, washing away the dust of the living world. The water smells faintly of minerals, cool and clean, as it runs in rivulets across your skin. This is no ordinary bath. It is a ritual, a sacred act to prepare you for the gods. The priests murmur prayers to Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, asking him to guide their hands. Their voices are soft, almost a hum, blending with the distant lapping of the river against the shore. Now, the first true stage of mummification begins, the removal of your organs. The priests gather around you, their tools laid out on a low wooden table, bronze hooks, obsidian blades, and jars of alabaster that gleam faintly in the dim light. One priest, the WT or cutter, steps forward. His role is both revered and shunned, for he will break the sanctity of your body to preserve it. He takes a long, thin hook, its tip curved like a shepherd's crook, and carefully inserts it into your nostril. The movement is slow, deliberate, as he breaks through the fragile bone at the base of your skull. You feel nothing, but the process is precise. With gentle twists, he draws out your brain, piece by piece, through your nose. The tissue is set aside to be buried later in a simple pit, for the brain in this world is not considered vital to your afterlife. The priests work quietly, their faces calm, their movements a dance of reverence. Next, they turn to your torso. A second priest, the HMW or embalmer, takes an obsidian blade, its edge sharp enough to cut through flesh with ease. He makes a small incision along your left side, just below the ribs. The cut is clean, no wider than a handspan, and through it, he reaches into the cavity of your body. One by one, your organs are removed: your stomach, intestines, lungs, and liver. Each is handled with care, as if it were a sacred offering. These organs are not discarded but preserved, for they are part of your eternal self. The priests rinse them in palm wine, its sweet, fermented scent cutting through the air, and anoint them with myrrh, a resin that smells of deep forests and spice. Each organ is then placed in its own canopic jar. For alabaster vessels carved with the heads of the 4 sons of Horus, Insti, with a human head. Guards your liver, Hapi, baboon-headed. Protects your lungs, Duamutef, the jackal, holds your stomach, and Kebesinuf, the falcon. Cradles your intestines. The jars are sealed with lids, their surfaces inscribed with spells to ensure their safety in the afterlife. Your heart, however, remains. The Egyptians believed it was the seat of your soul, your thoughts, your very essence. It is left in place, carefully untouched, for it will face judgment in the Hall of Two Truths. The cavity where your organs once rested is now packed with temporary stuffing sacks of natron and resin-soaked linen to maintain your body S-shape. The priests chant as they work, their voices rising and falling in a cadence that feels like the pulse of the Nile. May your car endure, they intone, invoking your spiritual double, the part of you that will linger in this world. The air grows heavy with the scent of incense, frankincense burning in small clay braziers, its smoke curling upward like a prayer. Now comes the drying, the longest phase of your transformation. Your body is carried to a bed of natron, a natural salt that glitters like frost in the dim light of the embalming house. The priests pile the natron over you, covering every inch of your skin, filling the cavities where your organs once were. The salt is cool and coarse, drawing moisture from your flesh like a slow, silent tide. For 35 days, you rest here, the natron working its quiet magic. The air in the Pernifa is dry, the heat of the Egyptian sun pressing through the linen walls, hastening the process. The priests visit daily, checking the natron, replacing it when it becomes damp. They burn more incense, the smoke blending with the sharp, mineral scent of the salt. Their chants continue, a steady rhythm that seems to echo the heartbeat you no longer have. Your body is made whole, they say, your form preserved for eternity. After 35 days, the natron is brushed away. Your body, now lighter, its skin darkened and taut, is no longer the soft vessel of life. It is something else, something sacred, something eternal. The priests wash you again, this time with water mixed with palm wine and myrrh. Your skin is anointed with oils, their fragrance rich and warm like cedar wood and juniper. These oils soften your flesh, making it pliable for the final stages. The temporary stuffing is removed, replaced with permanent materials, linen soaked in resin, small packets of sawdust and spices, and sometimes, for the wealthy, precious gems or amulets. These are placed within you to ward off evil and guide your soul. A small scarab amulet, carved from green jasper, is laid over your heart, inscribed with a spell from the Book of the Dead, my heart, my mother. Do not stand against me in judgment. Now, the wrapping begins. The priests take long strips of linen, fine and smooth for those of high status, coarser for the less fortunate. The linen smells faintly of the flax fields where it was woven, a clean, earthy scent that mingles with the resin used to coat it. Each limb is wrapped separately, the strips wound tightly but carefully, layer upon layer. The priests move with a rhythm, their hands steady, their chants unbroken. You are bound for eternity, they say, as they wrap your fingers, your arms, your legs. Amulets are tucked between the layers, small figurines of gods, scarabs, and a pillar symbolizing stability. For a noble, the linen might be dyed red or blue, adorned with gold leaf. For a commoner, it is plain, but no less sacred. The wrapping takes days, sometimes weeks, as the priests ensure every inch of you is protected. Your face is the last to be covered. A mask of cartonnage linen stiffened with plaster placed over it, painted with your likeness to help your soul recognize its body. The status of the deceased shaped every step of this process. If you were a noble, your body might be adorned with gold finger stalls, your wrappings interspersed with faience beads that clink softly as they're laid in place. Your canopic jars would be carved from the finest alabaster, their lids inlaid with lapis lazuli. A commoner's mummification, while still reverent, was simpler. Your organs might be preserved with less costly materials, your wrappings made of reused linen. Yet the priest's care remained the same, for every soul deserved a chance at eternity. Gender, too, played a role. Women's bodies were often treated with extra oils to preserve their beauty, a nod to their role in life. Children, though rarely mummified due to cost, might receive simpler wrappings, their small forms cradled with care. As the final layers of linen are secured, the priests place you in a wooden coffin, its surface painted with scenes of gods and spells. The coffin smells of fresh cedar, its wood polished to a soft sheen. For the wealthy, it might be nested within a second coffin, or even a stone sarcophagus carved with hieroglyphs that glow faintly in the torchlight. The priests step back, their work complete. The air in the Pernifa is still, the only sound the faint crackle of the braziers and the distant murmur of the Nile. You are no longer a body, but a vessel for eternity, ready to be carried to your tomb. The chants fade, and the priests prepare for the next stage of your journey of funeral to guide your soul to the afterlife. This process, spanning 70 days, was a labor of precision and faith. Every step, from the removal of your organs to the final wrapping, was a prayer, a plea to the gods to grant you immortality. The scents of resin, natron, and incense linger in the air, the echoes of chants settling into silence. As we leave the Pernifa, imagine yourself resting, not in death, but in transformation, your body now a bridge between this world and the next. Let that thought carry you as we prepare to move to the next part of our journey. The air in Thebes is heavy with the scent of myrrh and dust, the sun hanging low over the Nile, casting a golden haze across the city. In a modest house of mud brick, a woman kneels at the edge of a woven mat, her hands clasped tightly, her face streaked with tears. Her name is Nebet, and her father, Ptahhotep, a high-ranking scribe who served the temple of Ammon, has just died. His body, now in the hands of the embalmers, is being prepared for eternity. But for Nebet, the world feels fractured, as if the gods themselves have turned away. Across the city, in the shadowed halls of the temple, a priest named Anan stands before an altar, his hand steady as he arranges tools for the final rites. His linen robe is pristine, his head shaved, his heart focused on the sacred task ahead, to perform the opening of the mouth ceremony, to ensure Ptahhotep's soul can breathe, eat, and speak in the afterlife. For the next days, Nebet's grief and Anan's ritual will intertwine, to threads in the tapestry of death, each moving toward the moment when Ptahhotep is laid to rest. Imagine the rhythm of their lives, one weighed by loss, the other by duty, as they prepare to send a soul into eternity. The streets of Thebes hum softly, the chatter of merchants and the bleating of goats fading as the funeral approaches. Nebet rises from her mat, her dark eyes swollen but resolute. She adjusts her simple linen dress, its edges frayed from years of wear, and steps into the courtyard. The air smells of baked earth and the faint sweetness of dates ripening on a nearby tree. Her neighbors, aware of her loss, lower their voices as she passes, their faces softened with sympathy. In ancient Egypt, death is a communal affair, a moment when the living gather to honor the dead, to ensure their journey is not taken alone. Nebet's family has gathered, her mother and sisters preparing offerings of bread, beer, and lotus flowers, their hands moving with the quiet efficiency of ritual. The scent of fresh-baked bread, warm and yeasty, fills the house, mingling with the floral perfume of the lotuses, their petals soft as silk. These offerings are not mere gifts, but necessities meant to sustain Ptahhotep's ka, his spiritual double in the afterlife. Nebet's heart aches as she folds a small linen cloth, one her father used to wipe his brow while writing in the temple's scriptorium. She places it among the offerings, a piece of her father's life to carry into eternity. Meanwhile, Anan, the priest, stands in the temple's inner sanctum, a cool, stone-walled chamber lit by flickering oil lamps. The air is thick with the scent of frankincense, its smoke curling upward like a prayer to the gods. Anan is a Hemnetjer, a high priest of Anubis, trained since childhood in the sacred arts of death. His hands, calloused from years of handling ritual tools, move with precision as he prepares for the funeral. On a low table before him lie the instruments of the opening of the mouth. A bronze adze, its blade gleaming, a set of small obsidian knives, and a Beseshkefa forked tool. used to touch the mummy's mouth, restoring its ability to speak. Annan's voice, low and steady, recites a prayer to Osiris, lord of the underworld, asking for guidance. May the soul of Ptahhotep find its place in the field of reeds, he intones, his words blending with the faint hum of other priests chanting in the distance. The temple is alive with preparation, assistants scurrying to gather linen, oils, and amulets, their sandals whispering against the stone floor. The funeral is days away, but the work begins now, each step a careful dance to honor the gods and the dead. Nebit, back at home, joins the women of her family in preparing the body's adornments. They weave garlands of lotus and jasmine, their fingers deft as they thread the flowers together. The scent sweet and heavy in the air, these garlands will be draped over Ptahhotep's mummy, a final gift of beauty for his journey. Nebit's mother, older and more composed, speaks softly of her husband's life, recounting his days spent hunched over papyrus, his reed pen scratching out accounts of grain and offerings for the temple. The stories are a comfort, a way to keep Ptahhotep's memory alive as they work. The family cannot afford professional mourners, but they will wail and weep themselves, their voices rising in a traditional lament to signal the community of their loss. Nebit imagines the procession, the moment when her father's coffin will be carried through the streets, and her chest tightens. She wonders if the gods are watching, if her father's Ba, his soul's wandering aspect, is near, hovering in the twilight between worlds. In the temple, Annan oversees the preparation of the tomb offerings. Ptahhotep, as a scribe of high status, will be buried with items to sustain him in the afterlife. Small jars of honey, their contents golden, and viscous clay vessels of beer, and alabaster bowls filled with dried figs and barley. These are ranged carefully, each item blessed with a prayer to ensure its purity. Annan's assistants, young priests in training, move quietly, their faces serious as they handle the sacred objects. The tomb itself, carved into the cliffs west of Thebes, is nearly ready, its walls painted with scenes of Ptahhotep's life, writing in the temple, offering gifts to Ammon, standing before Osiris in judgment. The paint smells faintly of minerals, its colors vivid in the torchlight red ochre, blue from crushed lapis, yellow from orpiment. Annan inspects the work, ensuring every hieroglyph is correct, every spell unbroken. For a single mistake could doom Ptahhotep's soul. The days pass and the funeral draws near. Nebit and her family gather at the Pernifa, the house of beauty where Ptahhotep's body now lies, wrapped in linen and ready for its final rites. The air inside is heavy with the scent of resin and natron, the stone walls cool to the touch. Nebit stands at a distance, her hands trembling as she watches the embalmers place her father's mummy in a wooden coffin. The coffin is simple but finely crafted, its surface painted with images of Anubis and Horus, their eyes watchful in the dim light. Nebit's mother places the garlands over the coffin, their petals brushing the wood, and Nebit adds the small linen cloth, tucking it near her father's heart. The family weeps softly, their voices rising in a lament that echoes through the chamber, a sound both mournful and reverent. Outside, the community gathers, neighbors and friends who knew Ptahhotep, their presence a testament to his life. The procession begins at dawn, the sky a pale pink over the Nile. Nebit walks behind the coffin, her bare feet sinking into the warm sand of the path. The coffin is carried on a wooden sledge, pulled by oxen whose hooves thud rhythmically against the earth. The mourners follow, their voices rising in a wail that carries across the fields, a signal to the gods that a soul is passing. Nebit's throat is raw, her tears mixing with the dust on her face, but she walks on. Her grief a weight she carries for her father. The scent of the lotus garlands mingles with the dry, earthy smell of the desert, and the Nile glitters in the distance, its waters a mirror for the rising sun. Annan leads the procession, his white robe catching the light as he walks at the head of the group. His voice is steady, chanting spells from the Book of the Dead, each word chosen to guide Ptahhotep's soul. May your Ka find rest, may your Ba soar to the heavens, he says, his voice blending with the mourners' cries. The procession moves slowly, the reunited, the rhythm of their steps a solemn beat. The tomb lies across the river, a small boat waiting to carry the coffin and mourners to the western cliffs. The journey is quiet, the only sounds the splash of oars and the soft chanting of the priests. At the tomb, Anan takes his place at the entrance, a narrow passage carved into the rock. The air here is cooler, the stone walls smooth and silent. The coffin is lowered into the burial chamber, a small room lined with painted scenes and offerings. Nebbit stands at the edge, her hands clasped, her eyes fixed on the coffin as it is placed on a stone plinth. The moment feels final, as if her father is truly gone. Yet the rituals promise he is not. Anan begins the opening of the mouth ceremony, the climax of the funeral. He stands before the coffin, his assistants flanking him, their faces solemn. The Besesh Kef is held aloft, its forked blade catching the torch light. Anan touches the tool to the mummy's mouth, reciting the sacred words, "May your mouth be opened, may you speak before the gods, may you eat and drink in the field of reeds." The bronze Hadzi follows, touching the eyes, ears and lips, restoring the senses of the dead. The air is thick with incense, the scent of myrrh and frankincense blending with the cool stone. Nebbit watches, her heart heavy but calm, the ritual a strange comfort, a promise of her father's eternity. The ceremony is long, each gesture deliberate, each prayer a step toward immortality. Anan's assistants place the offerings around the coffin, jars of honey, bowls of grain, a small wooden figure fire of Tahotep's Shabti, a servant to work for him in the afterlife. The priests chant softly, their voices a low hum that fills the chamber, a sound that seems to vibrate in the bones of the living. Nebbit's family stands together, their grief shared, their hands touching as they watch the priest seal the tomb. The stone door is rolled into place. The tomb is sealed, the stone door rolled shut with a low, grinding thud, and the world of the living fades into silence. You are no longer bound to the body that was so carefully wrapped, so reverently placed in its coffin. Your car, your spiritual double, lingers near the offerings of bread and beer, but your boar, the winged aspect of your soul, is free to roam. Imagine yourself drifting upward, weightless, the air around you growing cool and vast. The sky above Thebes turns black, not with the darkness of night, but with the endless expanse of the duat, the underworld, where your journey now begins. The scent of incense and resin fades, replaced by a faint, metallic tang, like the air before a storm. You are on a path no living eye can see, a road of shadow and starlight, guided by the spells inscribed on your coffin and the papyrus scrolls tucked within your wrappings. This is the soul's journey through the afterlife, a dreamlike trial where gods and monsters watch your every step, and your heart will be weighed against the feather of truth. Let the rhythm of this journey carry you as you float through a landscape both strange and sacred, toward the field of reeds or oblivion. The duat is not a place of earth and stone, but a realm of shifting forms where rivers of fire flow beside deserts of ash, and the air hums with the whispers of ancient gods. You glide forward, your body taking the form of a bird with human eyes, its feathers shimmering faintly in the dim light. The path is narrow, flanked by towering cliffs that seem to pulse with a life of their own, their surfaces etched with hieroglyphs that glow like embers. The air is heavy, carrying the scent of burning reeds and something sweeter, like lotus blossoms left too long in the sun. Ahead, a gate looms, its frame carved from obsidian, guarded by a serpent with eyes of flame. Its voice, low and hissing, demands your name and purpose. You speak the words inscribed in the Book of the Dead, a spell taught to you by the priests. "I am Tahotep, scribe of Ammon, come to seek the field of reeds." The serpent's eyes narrow, but it steps aside, its scales scraping against the stone. This is the first of 12 gates, each guarded by a deity or demon, each requiring a spell to pass. The Book of the Dead, your guide in this realm, is not a single text but a collection of hymns, prayers, and incantations written on papyrus and placed in your tomb to light your way. Its words are your shield, your voice in a world where silence is death. You move through the first gate, the air growing warmer, the ground beneath you soft as sand. The landscape shifts, and you find yourself beside a lake of fire, its surface rippling with crimson light. Crocodile-headed gods watch from the shore, their eyes glinting like polished bronze. They are the Sabao, devourers of the unworthy, their jaws snapping as you pass. You speak another spell, your voice steady despite the heat that presses against you. I have not stolen, I have not killed, I have not spoken falsehoods. The words are part of the 40 negative confessions, a litany of sins you must deny to prove your worth. The crocodiles retreat, their forms dissolving into the flames, and you move on. The air cooling slightly, the scent of fire giving way to the faint perfume of water lilies. The duet is a place chrono trigger of contradictions where beauty and terror coexist. You drift through a desert of white ash, its grains sparkling like stars under a sky that never lightens. Strange creatures move in the distance, jackal-headed figures carrying staffs, birds with human hands and shadowy forms that vanish when you look too long. The air carries the sound of distant chanting, a rhythm that feels like the heartbeat of the underworld itself. You come to the second gate, guarded by a lion with a human face, its mane woven with serpents. It demands a spell, and you recite, I am pure, my heart is light, I seek the presence of Osiris. The lion steps aside, its serpents hissing softly, and you pass into a new region of the dew chrono trigger out, where the air smells of damp earth and lotus. The path leads to a river, its waters black and still, crossed by a boat with no oars. A ferryman, his face hidden in shadow, waits. You offer the words of a spell, promising Yorka's offerings of bread and beer, and he allows you to board. The boat glides silently, the water lapping against its sides, carrying the faint scent of decay and renewal. On the far shore, you step into a field of tall reeds, their tips swaying in an unseen breeze. The duet is alive, its landscapes shifting with your steps, each one a test of your resolve. You move through 7 more gates, each one more perilous than the last. At the third, a goddess with the head of a cobra demands your knowledge of the gods. At the 5th, a jackal with wings of flame asks for the names of the stars. At the 7th, a figure cloaked in darkness demands you recount your deeds in life. Each time, you draw on the spells of the Book of the Dead. Their words are lifeline in this strange world. The air grows heavier with each gate, the scents shifting, now the sharp tang of natron, now the sweet decay of lotus, now the dry dust of the desert. The guardians are relentless, their eyes piercing, but you press on, your bow fluttering like a bird seeking home. The duet is not just a place of trials, but a reflection of your soul. Its landscape shaped by your life, your fears, your hopes. You reach the 10th gate, where a figure with no face stands, its hands holding a scale. It speaks no words, but you feel its question. Are you worthy? You recite the negative confessions again, your voice steady but soft. I have not caused pain. I have not cheated the poor. I have not defiled the gods' offerings. The figure nods, and you pass. The air now thick with the scent of incense, a sign you are nearing the heart of the duat. At the 11th gate, a goddess with wings of lapis lazuli asks you to name the parts of your soul. You speak of your ko, the life force tied to your body, your ba, the wandering spirit now guiding you, and your ak, the eternal self you hope to become. She smiles, her wings rustling softly, and lets you pass. The 12th gate is the last, guarded by Osiris himself, his green skin glowing faintly, his crook and flail crossed over his chest. He says nothing, but his presence is a weight, a judgment in itself. You offer the final spell, a plea for mercy. I am pure, my heart is true. Let me dwell in the field of reeds. The gate opens and you step into the Hall of Two Truths. The hall is vast, its ceiling lost in shadow, its walls lined with gods seated on thrones of gold and ebony. The air is cool, scented with myrrh and the faint sweetness of lotus. At the center stands a great scale, its pans gleaming like the sun. Anubis, jackal-headed and silent, places a feather in one pan, the feather of Maat, goddess of truth and balance. In the other, he places your heart, its weight invisible but heavy with your life's deeds. The gods watch, their eyes calm but unyielding. Thoth, ibis-headed, scribe of the gods, records your fate. Isis, her wings folded, offers protection. Horus, falcon-eyed, guards the balance. The air is still, the only sound the faint creak of the scale as it sways. Your heart must be lighter than the feather, free of sin to pass. If it is heavy, emit. The devourer waits nearby, her crocodile jaws and lion body a silent threat. You stand before the scale, your bow hovering, and recite the 40 negative confessions, each one a denial of wrong. I have not lied, I have not stolen, I have not caused others to weep. The words echo in the hall, their rhythm steady like a lullaby for the soul. The scale tips, then steadies, the feather and your heart in balance. Anubis nods, and Thoth writes in his book. Osiris rises, his voice soft but final. You're justified. Enter the field of reeds. The air shifts, the scent of myrrh giving way to the fresh, green smell of reeds and water. You step forward, your bog gliding into a new landscape, a paradise of endless fields, where the Nile flows gently and the air is warm with the scent of blooming flowers. The field of reeds is your eternal home, a place where your act can dwell forever, reunited with your core. The living, still in the world above, sustain you with offerings, their prayers and gifts of bread ensuring your strength. The spells they recite, the incense they burn, weave a thread between the worlds, keeping you whole. The journey through the duat is complete, but its echoes linger, a reminder of the trials that shaped your eternity. As you rest in the field of reeds, imagine the world above, where pharaohs are buried in tombs of gold, their journeys far grander, their trials no less daunting. Let this thought carry you, as we drift from the soul's quiet fields to the opulent tombs of the god kings, where workers labor in secrecy to build eternity. The sun sinks low over the cliffs of the Valley of the Kings, casting long shadows across the barren, rocky landscape west of Thebes. The air is dry, carrying the faint scent of dust and heated stone, a stark contrast to the lush fields of the Nile's eastern banks. Here, in this desolate valley, the pharaohs, god kings of Egypt, are laid to rest, their tombs carved deep into the limestone cliffs, hidden from prying eyes. You are not a pharaoh, but imagine yourself as a worker, a tomb decorator named Ka, tasked with preparing the eternal resting place of a divine ruler. Your hands are stained with ochre and charcoal, your tunic dusted with the fine powder of limestone. The air in the tomb is cool, heavy with the scent of fresh paint and the tang of resin-soaked linen. Every stroke of your brush, every chisel mark, is a prayer, a step toward ensuring the pharaoh's immortality. This is a world of gold and secrecy, where the divine are buried with treasures to rival the heavens, and where your labor, though humble, is sacred. The Valley of the Kings is a maze of hidden entrances, each tomb a labyrinth designed to protect its occupant from robbers and curses. Your work begins at dawn, when the air is still cool, and the valley is quiet save for the distant calls of ibises along the Nile. You walk from your village, Deir el Medina, a cluster of mud brick houses where the tomb workers live, their lives bound to the service of the dead. The village smells of baking bread and drying fish, the sounds of children playing mingling with the rhythmic tapping of chisels from nearby workshops. Your home is simple, its walls plastered white, adorned with small amulets to ward off evil. Your wife, Merit, prepares your meal: flatbread, onions, and a small jar of beer before you join the other workers on the path to the valley. The journey is short but steep, the sand warm beneath your sandals, the cliffs looming like silent guardians. The tomb you are working on belongs to a pharaoh, perhaps Seti I, whose reign brought wealth and power to Egypt. The entrance is concealed, a narrow gash in the rock covered with loose stones to deter thieves. You descend into the tomb, a torch in hand, its flame casting flickering shadows on the rough-hewn walls. The air grows cooler as you move deeper, the scent of dust giving way to the sharp, mineral smell of freshly cut stone. The tomb is a work in progress, its corridors and chambers carved over years by teams of laborers. The walls are smooth, ready for your art, the ceiling low enough to brush your head. You carry a palette of pigments: red ochre from the desert, blue from crushed lapis lazuli, yellow from orpiment, green from malachite. The colors glow in the torchlight, vibrant against the pale limestone. Your task is to paint scenes from the Book of the Dead, spells to guide the pharaoh through the duat, images of gods and offerings to ensure his eternal life. The air is thick with the scent of paint, it's earthy, metallic tang mixing with the faint sweetness of beeswax used to seal the pigments. You work slowly, your brush moving with care, tracing the form of Osiris, his green skin a symbol of rebirth, his crook and flail crossed over his chest. The paint is smooth, its texture like cream, and you blend it with water from a small clay pot. The liquid cooled against your fingers. The tomb is alive with activity, though the pace is deliberate, unhurried. Other workers chisel away at the stone, their tools clinking softly, the sound echoing in the confined space. A scribe, his reed pen scratching on papyrus, records the progress, ensuring every detail aligns with the sacred plans. The air carries the faint scent of sweat and dust, but also the sweet aroma of myrrh burning in a small brazier, an offering to the gods who watch over this work. The pharaoh's tomb is not just a grave but a palace for eternity, filled with treasures to sustain him in the afterlife. You pause to watch as a team of craftsmen places offerings in a side chamber. Golden statues of the pharaoh, their surfaces gleaming in the torchlight wooden boats. To carry him across the celestial river and alabaster jars filled with wine, honey, and oils there. Scents rich and heavy. The boats are intricately carved, their prows shaped like falcons. Their hulls painted with spells to ensure safe passage. The chamber smells of cedar wood and resin, the materials used to craft the coffins and furniture that will accompany the pharaoh. A golden throne inlaid with turquoise and faience stands ready, its cushions stuffed with linen and scented with jasmine. These treasures are not mere objects but extensions of the pharaoh's divine power, ensuring he rules in the field of reeds as he did on earth. Your role as a decorator is both an honor and a burden. The work is dangerous, not just because of the physical risks collapsing tunnels, falling rocks, but because of the spiritual weight. A single mistake in a hieroglyph, a misdrawn god, could curse the tomb, dooming the pharaoh's soul. You work under the watchful eye of the overseer, a stern man named Amenhotep, who inspects every line, every color. His voice is low, his words precise, as he points out a curve in Anubis's ear that needs adjustment. You nod, dipping your brush into the black pigment, its scent sharp and earthy, and make the correction. The air in the tomb is heavy, the silence broken only by the soft scrape of brushes and the distant clink of chisels. The workers of Deir el Medina, like you, are skilled artisans, their lives dedicated to this sacred task. Your village is unique, a community of craftsmen who live better than most commoners, paid in grain, oil, and fish by the pharaoh's treasury. Yet, your life is not easy. The work is grueling, the hours long, and the valley's heat seeps into the tombs, making the air stifling by midday. You return home each evening, your hands aching, your eyes strained from working in the dim light. Merit greets you with a bowl of lentils and a smile, her presence a quiet comfort. The village is alive with stories, whispered tales of tomb robbers who braved the valley's curses to steal gold, their fates sealed by the god's wrath. You know the risks, for the tombs are not just protected by stone but by spells, curses inscribed on the walls to blind or destroy thieves. May their hearts be devoured, may their names be forgotten, one curse reads, its words painted in red ochre, glowing ominously in the torchlight. The logistics of preparing a pharaoh's tomb are staggering, a feat of planning and secrecy. The treasures are transported under guard, the soldiers' sandals thudding against the sand as they escort carts laden with gold and cedar wood. The air smells of dust and sweat, the oxen pulling the carts lowing softly. The tomb's location is a closely guarded secret, known only to the workers and the high priests. You and your fellow craftsmen swear oaths to Anubis, vowing never to reveal the tomb's entrance. Your words sealed with a sip of bitter natron water, its taste lingering on your tongue. The tomb's construction takes years, sometimes decades, as workers carve deeper into the cliff, their tools wearing smooth from use. The chambers are vast, some large enough to hold a dozen coffins, others small and intimate, meant for the pharaoh's most treasured possessions. The walls are plastered with gypsum, its surface smooth as silk, ready for your paint. You spend days on a single scene, painting the pharaoh offering lotus flowers to Isis, her wings spread wide, her eyes kind but distant. The air carries the scent of the plaster, chalky and clean, mixed with the faint perfume of the lotus depicted on the wall. The contrast between a pharaoh's burial and that of a commoner is stark. Where Ptahhotep, the scribe from our earlier tale, was laid in a simple coffin with modest offerings. A pharaoh's tomb is a palace, its chambers filled with enough wealth to sustain a god. A commoner's tomb might have a single shabti, a small figurine to serve in the afterlife, carved from wood or clay. A pharaoh's tomb holds dozens, some made of faience, their surfaces glazed blue and green, others of gold, their eyes inlaid with obsidian. The scent of the faience, faintly metallic, mingles with the resin used to seal the shabti's base. The pharaoh's coffin is nested, one within another, the innermost made of solid gold, its weight requiring 10 men to carry. The air around it smells of cedar and myrrh, the coffin's surface gleaming even in the dim light. A commoner's burial is a family affair, mourned by loved ones, while a pharaoh's is a state event, attended by priests, nobles, and professional mourners whose wails echo through the valley, their voices rising like a storm. Yet, for all its grandeur, the pharaoh's tomb is vulnerable. Robbers lurk in the shadows, their greed outweighing their fear of curses. You have heard stories of tombs breached before the plaster has dried, their treasures stolen, their spells broken. The workers of Deir el-Medina are trusted, but not immune to temptation. Some whisper of colleagues who took a single amulet, only to fall ill or vanish into the desert. You push these thoughts aside, focusing on your work. The steady rhythm of your brush against the stone. The tomb's completion nears, the final chamber ready for the pharaoh's mummy. The air is heavy with the scent of resin and paint, the walls now a tapestry of gods and spells. You step back, your hands stained with color, and survey your work. The scenes are vivid, the hieroglyphs precise, each one a prayer for the pharaoh's soul. The tomb is sealed with a stone door, its surface carved with curses and seals. The air growing still as the final torch is extinguished. You return to Deir el-Medina, your body tired but your heart light, knowing you have helped a god king find eternity. The valley grows quiet, the cliffs standing sentinel over their secrets. As you leave the tomb behind, imagine the pharaoh's soul, now resting in its golden palace, surrounded by the treasures you helped prepare. Let this thought linger as we drift from the hidden tombs to a gentle reflection on the journey we've taken, from death to eternity, ready to close our tale with a moment of peace. The Valley of the Kings fades into silence, its cliffs standing as eternal sentinels over the pharaoh's golden tombs. The air, once thick with the scents of resin, paint and dust, now feels distant, a memory of a world where death was not an end but a beginning. You've journeyed through the sands of ancient Egypt, from the moment of your own passing, where priests transformed your body into a vessel for eternity, to the grief of a daughter and the solemn duties of a priest, their voices blending in a funeral's quiet rhythm. You've drifted through the duet, your soul facing gates and gods, your heart weighed against the feather of truth, and you've stood in the shadowed chambers of a pharaoh's tomb, where workers like a painted eternity onto stone. Each step of this journey, from the Per-Nefer's incense-filled halls to the field of reeds' endless green, was a testament to a culture that saw death as a doorway, a passage to something greater. Imagine yourself now, not in the heat of Thebes or the cool depths of a tomb, but in your own quiet space, the modern world soft around you. The rituals of ancient Egypt, so intricate and deliberate, are gone, but their echoes remain in the human need to honor what was and hope for what comes next. The Nile still flows, its waters carrying the same minerals that once purified the dead, and the stars above still guide souls, even if we no longer name them as the Egyptians did. Let the weight of this history settle over you, not heavy but comforting, like a linen sheet draped gently across your shoulders. The chants of priests, the wails of mourners, the brushstrokes of artisans, all these fade into a single, steady rhythm, a lullaby of time that invites you to rest. As you lie there, perhaps drifting closer to sleep, consider how the Egyptians wove meaning into every act, every offering. Ensuring no soul was forgotten, their world was one of balance, between life and death, earth and eternity, and in that balance they found peace. Tonight, you've walked their paths, smelled their incense, heard their prayers. Let those images linger, soft and unhurried, as your mind wanders toward dreams. If this journey through ancient Egypt has soothed you, If the steady cadence of history has brought you closer to rest, we invite you to join us for more. Subscribe to History Orbit on YouTube, where every week we weave new tales from the past, each one crafted to guide you into calm and quiet. Click the subscribe button. Let the bell icon chime softly, and let us carry you through time again, night after night. For now, close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the Nile's gentle flow, the rustle of reeds, and the distant hum of ancient chants carry you into sleep. Good night, and may your dreams be as peaceful as the field of reeds.